Hi there, and thanks very much for tuning in. My name is Myron Salant, and you're watching another screencast from the mazblog.com. Today's screencast is a tutorial, and in today's tutorial we'll be moving away from Mac OS X and focusing on securing Ubuntu Linux. Today's tutorial is aimed at the beginner or novice user up until the intermediate user. You would want to have some sort of experience with a Linux distribution in order to follow the tutorial. So today's tutorial will be covering how to create a user, how to add that particular user to the SUDO wheel group, and also securing the SSH daemon down a little bit to make the system a bit more secure. So let's get into it, and the first thing we're going to do is add a user, and to do that we're going to use the command add user space username. In this case the user will be called demo. It's going to ask us for the Unix password, and bear in mind that all Unix passwords are case sensitive, as is everything with Unix. You don't have to populate these particular fields, and to get through them you can simply hit the return key. It's going to ask us if the information is correct. We'll enter a capital Y to confirm that. The user is created, and we can view that by going to the home directory, and we should see the home directory for demo, which we've done. So well done, you've added the user, and the next thing you'd want to do is edit the SUDO wheel group. Now SUDO is a very useful application, and what SUDO allows us to do is give certain privileges to certain users. For the sake of today's tutorial we'll be giving all privileges to the user demo. Never a good idea to log in as root and actually use root whilst you're working on the system. So let's go ahead and do that now, and to edit the sudo file we're just going to issue the command vi-sudo, which in turn will invoke the nano editor for the correct file. So as you can see here, I've previously added the user demo, and just to give you a brief idea of what's going on here, this is obviously the username of the user. We're going to allocate all privileges to all groups, and we're going to make all resources available to the user demo. We're not going to touch on anything else for the moment, so obviously there's no changes to be made. If you did change the file, or if you were adding the file, you'd hit Control X followed by Y, and that would save the changes. So now essentially what we've done is we've added the user demo, and we've also added the user demo privileges, or granted him privileges to use the system. The next thing we want to do is have a look at securing the SSH daemon, and SSH is a way of remotely accessing your system. Gone are the days of Telnet, and many a system administrator would tell you that was a good thing. Not very secure Telnet, and caused a lot of upset in the past. So we're going to use the command nano space /etc/ssh/sshd_config followed by the return key, and this is going to bring up the configuration file. Now the first thing we want to do is change the port that SSH runs on, and this is obviously going to confuse people wanting to compromise your system. Traditionally it runs on port 22. We're going to want to get rid of that today, and for the sake of the tutorial we'll be changing it to port 9982. In other words, we're changing it from the default port to a port that only you would know, or you and your users would know. And the reason you want to do this is traditionally it runs on port 22, and your chances of someone gaining access are a lot higher. There are ways to find out what it is running, or what port SSH is running on, and that would be by means of a port scan, but we don't need to worry about that today. The next thing you'd want to go and have a look at is the line permit root login, and we're going to change this to a no. And the reason we're changing this to a no is we don't want roots to be allowed login through SSH. Also another way of lessening the chances of something happening. So what we can do now is save the file. That's Control X, Y to save. That's the file we want to save, and hit the return key, and that brings us back. So just to summarize very quickly, we've added a new user, we've added that user to the SUDO wheel group, we've given them all privileges, we've locked down SSH now by changing the port of SSH, and also depermitting root login through SSH. Now before these changes take effect on SSH, we need to restart the actual SSH service. So to do that, what we're going to do is issue the command /etc/init.d, which is where all the service files are stored, SSH space reload, enter. And as you can see over here, it reloaded the SSH server, and away we go. So that pretty much covers the first part of this tutorial in securing Ubuntu Linux. I hope you found it informal and useful. As always, you can hop onto the mazblog.com, that's muzzblog.com, and download this tutorial in HD. There is also a step-by-step guide on this particular tutorial, so you can work through it at your own pace, and just look for Securing Ubuntu Linux Tutorial 1. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.